political showdown over President Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh, begins today. A handful of moderate Republicans and red state Democrats will likely determine if Kavanaugh is confirmed. Maine Republican Susan Collins said Kavanaugh has, quote, impressive credentials, and she will, quote, conduct a careful, thorough vetting. Democrats Joe Manchin, Heidi Heitkamp, and Joe Donnelly, who voted for Justice Neil Gorsuch, said they will review Kavanaugh's record.
Republican strategist Dan Senor worked with Kavanaugh in the George W. Bush administration. He's also a former senior advisor to GOP presidential candidate Mitt Romney and House Speaker Paul Ryan. Dan, good morning.
Morning.
So what are you hearing from your Republican colleagues on Capitol Hill?
Well, there's a little bit of a divide. I mean, basically, people are generally enthusiastic. Brett is a standard, Republican judicial, sort of the profile of a standard judicial conservative nominee. If Mitt Romney were president, if Marco Rubio were president, if Jeb Bush were president, he'd likely be a nominee. There is some concern among some in the Senate, Republicans, that the White House, or at least the president, doesn't fully appreciate how different this is than the Gorsuch situation. In other words, when Gorsuch was put through the system, the Republicans had a 52-48 majority. Now they effectively have 50-49 because they lost the Alabama Senate race, and John McCain isn't going to be able to vote. So it's a narrow margin. Secondly, Gorsuch was succeeding Scalia, so it didn't change the philosophical composition of the court. This time, Kavanaugh would be replacing Kennedy. There's a sense that this is a generational change in the philosophical composition of the court, so the stakes are higher. And thirdly, the Democrats are much more organized this time than they were during Gorsuch. And the pressure on the Democrats from their base is far higher now. If you listen to the base of the Democratic Party, they are saying, do everything you can, Senator Schumer, to stop this.
Yeah.
So what's the practical result of that realization or the new changing landscape? Does it mean essentially the two more, quote unquote, moderate Republican senators, Collins and Murkowski, are going to just get flooded? Is that where the action
Yeah,
is?
absolutely. I mean, basically what the Democrats have to do is flip Murkowski or Collins or both. And that's where all the pressure is going to be. And if you listen to Kavanaugh last night, I mean, that was his acceptance speech was basically a letter to Collins and Murkowski.
In what
my
way?
daughters, look how involved I am in my daughters' lives. A tribute to his mother. He basically reminded me of the binders full of women, Mitt Romney, all these women who've worked for me. Over 50%. I've never heard a judicial nominee cite the percentage of women that have been their clerks.
Well, why shouldn't he say that? I mean, I noticed there was some criticism, but why shouldn't he say that? It is true
Not only is it
Kagan, that
true,
he's hired a majority of women law clerks. He should be.
I agree with you. Not only is it true, but the reality is he's not some firebrand right-winger that the Democrats are going to try. I saw Senator Schumer's interview earlier. I mean, you can't put him in that box. 11 of his opinions have been adopted by the U.S. Supreme Court. 7 of his clerks have gone on to clerk for Justice Kennedy. I mean, Kennedy was his mentor, so he's not some right-wing extremist.
Quickly, how does this play out for Democrats in red states? Can they oppose this nomination?
I think there'll be enormous pressure on them. And I think that the tension is the following. Trump is more popular in their states than the Democratic leadership is. And if he decides to really lean into this, it's harder for these red state Democrats. But the national fundraising arm of the left, National Organization for Women, National National Abortion Rights Action League, all these center-left groups that care about this issue and think that Roe v. Wade hangs in the balance here are going to be deploying huge amounts of money on these particular red state Democrats. And I think, they're going to have to basically choose between those two. It's going to be much tougher than the Gorsuch situation.
Emboldening both sides.
Right.
Dan Senor, great to see you. Thank you.
Good to be with you.